origins of this film came about after a project I had done with Kane, and he brought out this book called Voyage that was written in 1976 about how the Polynesians discovered Hawaii. And he said that he'd been wanting to turn this into a movie for almost 10 years now, but didn't know if the technology existed, how much it would cost. And he asked me, since he knew if I was a filmmaker, if I could do it. Voyage was originally written to inform the public about the Hokulea and the voyage to Tahiti and what it meant. And the story was written in a first-person narrative. So it's an old man sitting around a fire telling all the younger generations how he and his friends many years ago first made the voyage to Hawaii, and what were the circumstances for their leaving, what they did on the voyage, and what they did when they arrived. Once I looked over the book, I realized I needed a narrator, a great voice to really take you through the film. And we searched around and we finally found a man named Dennis Evangelista, who used to read Shakespeare many years ago. And we brought him in, and over 3 days he read the whole book out. And once we had his narration and his voice all edited together, that was really the foundation for applying everything else that came forth.
Permit me, noble chiefs and lineages, to tell you how it was. How we came to be exiled from our valley in Tehenua in Nana, the land of men. How we sailed to the north where no man had sailed before us. And how Tangaro of the sea led us to the immense island of the White Mountain and the Mountain of Fire.
What makes this film a little bit different is there was actually no footage shot. It was all done inside the computer based off of JPEGs and TIFFs and digital imagery of scans of all of Herb Kane's artwork. I mean, he's the only artist in this film. Every image and painting was done by him. So once I assembled all the images, I went through almost every painting he has done since the late 60s and found all the paintings that I could apply. The most difficult part was getting the images prepared for the style of the film. I wanted to go a step further. Once all the images were assembled, I separated them into layers. You know, the canoe on its own layer, the sea on its own layer, and the sky on its own layer. And each can be animated differently, so it actually looks like the canoe is slowly cutting through the water. I had to manually, individually cut out each individual layer and fill the background in to my best guess. So that took many months, much longer than I originally thought.
Some men picked up their paddles, and there was a murmur among us as we saw a tantalizing pillar of rain, which began to expand to a wide curtain. Then a breeze sprang up, wafting us directly into the squall. With surprising suddenness, rain began to fall. Big drops splattered upon our bodies, drumming upon the deck. Then a heavy torrent of rain, wondrously cool, washed our upturned faces. The sails were quickly taken down and rinsed, then spread to collect the blessed water and funnel it into our empty gourds. We laughed and shouted and danced on the rain-swept deck, and we drank our fill. That night, long chants of praise and gratitude were made to the gods.
The music in this film was a little bit different than a normal feature because the soundtrack drives the film more than the visuals. So once I finished a rough draft, I started writing the music and figured out all the places I wanted it, what instruments I wanted, and once I had that done, the music was written, composed, musicians were brought in, and then once I fit them into the places they needed to be, I could then move the visuals correctly around them. We had choir come in, and we had ipus and pow drums. It was great.
Then we saw the bird, homeward bound after its day of fishing. It passed us, flying low over the water, heading straight for the strange cloud bank in the west. Looking anew at the clouds, we saw a sight difficult to comprehend. What had appeared as an unusual cloud formation was now revealed as the peak of a gigantic mountain, a mountain of unbelievable size, a white mountain, a pillar that seemed to support the dome of the sky. We watched in wonder until nightfall. Then, to the south of its peak, a dull red glow lighted the underside of the lifting clouds, revealing the black silhouette of another mountain. It brightened as the night darkened and remained glowing throughout the night. That mountain seemed to be burning. Our two ships stayed close together, thrashing along in the night wind, and the dreadful red beacon lighted our way.
Working Herb was a very educational experience because he is very exacting in historical detail. The canoes just had to be perfect for him. And other than the visual things, he was very easy to work with. He loved the music when I first showed it to him. The sound design, he just loved it right away. And at the very beginning, he was very strict that the writing need to stay the same. But as the film went along and he started to see it put together, he was like, oh, okay, maybe we can change that line or move that around. And that's basically how the film came to be.